Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is another great day of selling real estate with Kelly Cook. And, as selling real estate with Kelly Cook / investing in real estate with Kelly Cook. As you know, on this podcast, we talk about a variety of topics, all having to do with real estate. And investing is one that Kelly's passionate about. Kelly, real quick, before we get into this, tell me, what was your first investment purchase? What kind of, tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. This is going to be awesome, right? Because this is, I'm so passionate about real estate investing. It's not even funny, right? Like, I love it. And all the fun things you can do with it, because there are a lot of fun things. The first ever property was actually in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Represent.
I was going to school there, guys. As you can see by all the stuff in the background, right? University of Nebraska. Shout out to the Cornhuskers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And love it. And my stepdad at the time, he's the one who kind of brought it up. He's like, "Hey, look, you're renting a house, right? When you have some buddies, some roommates, etc. Why not buy a house and they can all rent from you?" And I was like, "Well, I can't afford a house." He's like, "Yes, you can." I'm like, "Okay, how is that?" So here's one creative way right here, guys. What he did was, he goes, "I'm going to co-sign for you. All right, I'm going to co-sign for you. And then the down payment portion of the loan, he's like, I'm going to do a private note with you on the side." So the house, to this day, the house, if I remember correctly, was $80,000. That's right, 80.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Lincoln, Nebraska, small little house.
Dating Kelly a little bit.
Looking back, we all should have bought like 200
Right.
of those, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but and so it was about $80,000, and he and 20% on that is what, $16,000 or so. So we probably had to put on 20% down, because maybe not even that, because who knows what the loan programs were like back then. And I was going to live there, although and I was on the loan, but I was co-signed. So the $16,000, let's say, if that's what it was, he put up. I maybe put whatever I had, maybe $1,000 or something, right?
You're a college student, yeah.
That was his collateral, right? And I was working, I was obviously playing football and going to school, at least trying to, right? And but I had a couple little summer job on the side. I refereed basketball, guys. And sidebar, if you're a college student, there's no better job than to referee basketball games. And by the way, there's basketball games all year long, pretty much, right? Almost, right? So like, you can do the job almost all year long. And the great thing about it is you can go knock out like 3 games. So let's say you don't want to work a 6-hour shift at Kohl's or something, right? You can knock out 3 hours, three games, and you're moving around a little bit. You're, refereeing basketball, and they pay, the pay is always way above minimum wage, right? I mean, like back then it was like you get like $20 a game. So now it's probably 25 or something, right? I don't know, for like refereeing a bunch of 5th graders, right? So yeah. So I mean, it's a great side gig to do. And so anyways, I put some money up. That was his collateral, if you will, right? And in fact, I'm his stepson, so he, I guess, somewhat trusted me. And that was the deal. And we closed. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said at least he knew where to find you if it didn't work out. So
Exactly.
I don't know if it's trust, but he knew he could get a hold of you.
No doubt, right? He knew where to find me. And so all those things combined, he gave it to me. And so by the way, guys, there are people out there in your world, in your life right now, that will do what my stepdad did for me. Mm-hmm. Right. At the end of the day, was my stepdad rich? Not at all. But he had he was like some sort of engineer of some type, right? And point is, he had $16,000 to lend to somebody he wanted to help out, because he saw them working hard, trying their best, that kind of thing, right? It's easy to help someone who wants to help themselves, right?
Mhm.
If you're not helping yourself, it's going to be hard to find that person, convince that person to actually go in business with you, to help you on anything. Or if you're not a person of integrity, it's going to be very hard for that person to actually want to even, they could be a multi-billionaire. It won't matter. They won't give you a
They won't
dime.
trust you with it. Yeah.
They won't trust you with it. That's exactly right. So you got to be a person of integrity, a person who, whose word means something and they do what they say they'll do, who works hard. So they know that there's a little bit of risk, but with you, the risk is mitigated substantially because of all those things, right? Those good qualities. So be a good person, and you'll come across those people who actually will do those type of deals for you if you're willing to put in some sweat equity. It doesn't have to be all about the money, right? So anyways, we did that deal. He closed on it. I moved in. My 3 remained in. They paid rent, and it was awesome because not only did I live for free, I think I made like $150 a month or something, right? Like it was incredible. And so in that situation, you got to be careful though, right? You don't, if your buddies know you're the landlord, then yeah, right?
Yeah.
So
Gets
hey
messy.
buddy, I'm a little short this month, So like, I had my stepdad, I always said my stepdad owned the house, and which he did, right? He was part owner and all that stuff, right? So, but that's the first deal we did. And that just lit the fire for me to say,
got a taste of that.
Oh, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then I didn't even know anything about taxes. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. All I knew is that I was able to live rent-free with the buddies I was going to live with anyway. And then on top of it, the house might just appreciate too, right?
Right.
And you might have some principal buy down, which you will. So it was awesome. That's the only house in my entire career, my entire life, that I've never sold. That actually kept as a rental for a period of time, outside of a couple of homes that were flips back in the day, right? When the market went down, I had to get rid of those quick, right? That kind of thing. But that's it. So everything else I've usually keep, and I love to hold, because holding is investing.
Yes, which brings us into thanks for sharing that story, Kelly, because that was your first investment, which you started at a very young age, and you started investing before you got into real estate, right? Like before you actually got into real estate. That was kind of the lead-in for you. For a lot of our audience, our listeners, I think that it, maybe that you were an investor turned agent, maybe you have been investing for a while, but for a lot of you that have been successful in real estate, you're agents, and you're thinking about investing, I think that we've talked a lot about finding a good deal, what a good deal means, what the benefits are of, your taxes, and why, all the reasons why you should start investing in real estate, especially as a real estate agent, because you already kind of have a leg up on properties and the understanding of it all. But today we want to kind of talk a little bit more about what you do once you have found a good deal. You have decided on an investment property, the numbers work for you, right? We've talked a lot about that. Go revisit some old episodes if you're kind of just tuning in and want to get started in that. But today we are going to dive a little bit deeper into what those next steps look like. So Kelly, let us have it. What I'm a brand new investor. I just found a property. I said, yes, these numbers are going to work for me. This is a good deal. I can see it's a good investment. I buy it. I put up the money for it. I find the money. Somebody gives me some money, right? What do I do now?
Yeah, great question. Before I answer that, let me just take a step back and tell you this quick story about a gentleman I just sat on a panel with yesterday. Okay, this guy is a real estate agent, and but now he is an investor, right? He's an investor first, and he just happens to still be a real estate agent, right? But his story is awesome because I'm on the panel. We're talking to some agents about investing, real estate investing as realtors, right? Because we're already in the catbird seat, right? We're already there because of the fact that we are real estate professionals. Real estate professionals, in terms of holding a license, already gives us a leg up because, for a couple different ways. From a tax standpoint, you don't have to have your license for the IRS to consider you a real estate professional. You have to just do a couple things, right? Like have so many hours per year that you put into a real estate endeavor. You have to, make sure it's 50% or more of your time of something that you do full time, blah, 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 all these other material participating, all these other things, right? That we won't go into right now. But you're already by default going to be qualifying for all those things if you're a full-time real estate agent, for the most part, right? So you're in the catbird seat from that standpoint. So what this realtor was talking about, which is awesome. His story is great because his story is about himself and his dad, right? His dad was a real estate agent for 40 years in the Phoenix area, and he killed it, right? Did a very good job, made a boatload of money, right? Doing real estate sales. However, what this agent realized is that over the years, his dad made other people a lot more money than whatever it was that he made, because he was always helping investors buy rental houses to hold, to flip, whatever it may be, and he never became the principal.
He was just getting a small piece of the pie of the transaction and not any of the real upside. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. There's always a better deal to be had if you are the principal. So I talk to our team all the time about be the principal, right? Be the principal first. Think like that first. If someone's looking to talk to you because you're a real estate professional about selling a house, then you should be thinking right away, is this something that maybe I could buy? And not that you're going to take advantage of them, right? That's not the point at all, because first of all, most people are smart to realize that that's going to be the case, and you don't ever want to do that. But the reality is if you're going to hold a property, you don't need to take advantage of anybody. You don't need to buy it severely under market value or whatever the case may be, right? Like some people who need to if they're going to flip a house. You just need to buy it for market value, assuming the market value is good for the type of financing you're going to use to purchase it, or I should say just the acquisition strategy in general, right? Could be cash. And what the rental rates are for that area, right? The market rents. So that's the deal, right? So be the principal. Think about owning real estate first, as opposed to representation if you're a real estate agent. Now, if you're not a real estate agent and you have another industry you work in, that's totally fine too. There's all kinds of fun ways you can try to become a real estate professional, right? In the eyes of the IRS, which has nothing to do with a license. But from that standpoint, I would highly recommend for anyone who has a house. Well, let me back up here, Elizabeth. You just have a gut feeling when you know this is probably a good deal. I don't know about you, but like you're sitting in a situation, someone's talking about some scenario, and you don't have to be an expert whatsoever in anything to know, hold on, that seems like, because I know that area, my neighborhood I live in, I'm not real estate. Maybe I'm a school teacher, whatever it is, right? But I bought my house for X. I know Cindy's street on the house on the street sold for X, and you're saying you want to sell for right? It's something you just know when there could be potentially a good deal. But the problem is,
a good deal when you see one. Yeah,
you know a good deal when you see one. You feel that, right? And that's a gut instinct there. But the problem is most people don't know how to put the deal together. That's the biggest problem. And so you need to either A, educate yourself, or B, or both, get in contact with somebody who will maybe not just go and help you put the deal together for and take the deal over, but partner with you to educate you. And in the trenches, you can learn about how it is that can make this deal work the best way possible. Because there's so many different options, guys. Options are the currency, right? Options are the currency for real estate investing, to know which is the best way to structure a deal for you long term, right? I mean, anyone can flip, right? Flipping is not investing. Flipping is a job, right? Okay. So now going back to your question, you have a deal that feels right. You might have even ran the numbers because someone taught you how to do that, how to underwrite a deal. Now, how do you maximize the property so that you can obviously take advantage of the most income and tax strategies or whatever it may be, right?
You're making your investment actually be a real investment that's working for you. Like how are you going to do that? Make the most out of your investment.
Yeah, make the most out of your investment. Okay. So there's a couple different things. If you're going to hold long-term, there's only a few different things you can do, right? You could do a long-term unfurnished rental, long-term hold, right? Someone's going to live in for 12 months or more, and they bring in their own furniture, and away we go. That's going to always typically be the lowest monthly gross that's going to come in on the property income, right? Or you could do a short-term rental. Short-term rental meaning like an Airbnb or VRBO, but then you have restrictions with that, right? You have some states, some municipalities that won't allow it. You have some HOAs, homeowners associations, that will not allow it.
More upkeep, like gotta have it cleaned for every different person.
Once you take on a short-term rental, you are entering the hospitality industry. You are now basically like similar to a super mini hotel. And so now you have to make sure the linens are correct, and you have to make sure the house is clean every time, and all these other things, right, that come along with that, right? Make sure the shampoo bottles are full. So that's in many ways another job. But it is investing, because maybe you could have someone else, like a property manager or whomever, take care of it for you, right? Now, the platforms of Airbnb and VRBO do make it definitely easy enough to do it yourself, but there's some time involved with that, right? It's not to kind of set it and forget it, right? Then you have midterm. This is the next most trendy thing in real estate investing. You have the midterm holds, right? These are traveling nurses. These are companies like Furnish Finders. They run a lot of midterm rentals. These are people that or HOAs or communities that will only allow you to at least rent it furnished, but you have to at least do 30 days minimum, right? Well, that creates a problem because Airbnb, that's tough for that, right? So then you have these companies like Furnished Finders and whatnot that will help place traveling nurses and people that are on contract for work, that kind of thing, who are going to be there maybe 30 days, 1 month, up to 6 months, maybe even a year, right?
So almost like the extended stay hotels.
Yeah. And think about it. There's a lot of insurance companies out there that love this aspect too, because they have people that are having to be displaced because of a water loss or a fire, and they're going to go in and fix it up, right? This insurance company is going to pay for that, and they're going to pay for the housing for the family. Well, the family needs furniture because the furniture is all in storage and now all or got lost in the fire or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so they need a place that's furnished, and they may not need it for a year because the rehab might take 6 months, whatever, right? So that there's a big market for that out there. And so you have to know the places to go to try to find and put yourself in the way, your house in the way of those people, right? So they find you.
How to actually get exposure. Yeah.
Yeah. And you will make more money the shorter the term is by general rule of thumb when it comes to the length of stay of a tenant, right? Short term, the most, and then you have obviously midterm and then long term. Now, the other thing is you could do possibly a some sort of ADU, some sort of disability house, some sort of maybe you could do a retirement home, but a long-term care facility. You can do things like that, right? But again, that depends on your municipality, your laws. It depends on your HOAs, any covenants or restrictions that you have in that community. So, and then of course that you might need to have someone, full-time employees be there, right? Nurses or whatever it is, right? So there's more to it. It becomes almost like a business. But when it comes to real estate investing, I personally love the long-term hold. I love having a property that I know is going to cash flow. And based upon the debt I'm going to put on the property, and I'm going to be able to hold it for a long time and not have that much to do with it. And a lot of those properties, the single family homes, you don't need a property manager necessarily if you're okay being a little hands-on, because most of the time, especially if you have gap insurance, I call gap insurance home warranties, right?
Yeah.
If you have a home warranty, then you have some gap insurance between your deductible, hopefully, and a big loss like a roof or something like that. And so if the sink is leaking or the toilet's leaking, you can just call them or have the tenant even do it. You can have provisions in the lease that require the tenant to do it. And you get the home warranty to take care of it. They come out and schedule the tenant directly, and you pay the service call fee, or the tenant does, based upon your lease negotiation. And that's it. And it's done. It's done. And so you don't have to even worry about trying to find that contractor, that plumber, that AC guy, because the home warranty company just takes care of it. Mm-hmm. Correct. Right. So there's ways to get around to make it a little more passive, but at the end of the day, it's not 100% passive. Almost nothing is, right? But there are so many other advantages to it that I could go on and on and on all day long about the real estate investing world. How you maximize it is figuring out what strategy you want to do based upon, how the length of stay of the tenant, right? Mm-hmm. And then once you figure that out, now hopefully you've already underwritten it, right, for this before you close on the property.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about closing on the property. You found a property that you think is a good deal. Maybe you underwrote the property. You put all the expenses basically in there. You know what your monthly debt servicing is going to be on your loan if you're doing financing, and then you know what the monthly rent is going to be. So you take the gross of the rent minus expenses.
I'm clear, yep. It's you kind of have to make that decision on this is going to be an Airbnb. This is going to be a long-term rental. This is going to be a flip. Whatever it is, you can't just buy a property and be like, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with that in a little bit after I bought it. You kind of have to have that plan going into purchasing the property so that you can run the numbers accurately, all of that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay. And then you know what your return on investment is going to be. So our basic underwriting spreadsheet that has formulas all pre-done. It is a spreadsheet that calculates two main things. That's what I want to know. And that does other things too, but the two main things that I want to know is return on investment, otherwise known as cash on cash return for the most part, right? And what's that percentage? And the cap rate. Right. The cap rate is the capitalization rate it's using in commercial underwriting for commercial buildings for sure. But in residential, it should be used too, in my opinion. And what that basically is giving you an idea of what the return on investment will be, less the debt structure that you have on the property. So net operating income, et cetera. So those two things I've metrics that I personally am looking to hit. And if it doesn't hit those metrics, I pass.
It's not a good deal.
Correct. So when someone asks me, hey, are you buying properties now? Because the market's maybe a little wonky right now. Are you going to just hold off and wait? No. One of the best investors I know made a comment a long time ago. He said, hey, ask me if I buy properties when the market's going up. And the person asked him, and he goes, yes. He goes, now ask me, do I buy properties when the market's going down? And he goes, yes. So there's never a bad time. Does the property fit your model or does it not? Because we both know that there's deals out there to be had in an appreciating market and a depreciating market, right? So absolutely, you want to be looking to purchase properties at all times in any given market and always be looking to be the principal.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and then financing. Let me say this one thing here, Elizabeth. Financing. Okay. So if you're going to do financing, there's different things you can do. Now, if it's outside of your marketplace, I think the rule is like 50 or 60 miles lending guidelines. You can still buy a home with second home financing, which is usually 10% down. That's it. And you can proceed with only, financing 90% of it, which is great if the numbers all work. Conversely, or if you're not doing that, it's got to be investment property. Investment properties start with 20% down financing. Fannie and Freddie backed loans are going to be the best for that. You can buy, you can hold up to 10 GSE or Fannie Freddie backed loans at any given time. Once you get above 10, because you have more than 10 properties that are all financed, then you have to go to alternate financing. But Fannie and Freddie are awesome. You put 20% down. You do your calculations of what that will end up being, and then you have a net number that hopefully will cash flow. And the biggest reason people don't get into real estate investing when it comes to like long-term holds is because they do the first deal, they underwrite it, they look at the numbers and they go, that's only going to, they put 20% down, right? That's only going to cash flow $175 a month. That's not very much. For all that headache that possibly could happen, nah, that's not worth it, right? Everyone's looking for the home run, the whale, right? They want to catch. And it's like,
just like investing in the stock market, you're waiting to be the first investor in Amazon, where that is very few and far between. But time in the market, in the market, or time with your investments is better than holding out for a slam dunk deal that you don't know if it's going to happen ever.
That's right. It's like, of course, the guy or gal who owns 30 Burger Kings is going to be doing a lot better than the one who owns just one Burger King. Right. And if you look at the balance sheet, or I should say the P&L of just one Burger King, it's probably not, depends on a lot of factors, right? But it probably is not like, it's probably decent, but it's not like, whoa, that's an amazing business to own. But if you could buy 40 Burger Kings all at once because you had the ability to do so, that probably brings in a healthy number that you'd be like, holy cow, this is an amazing business, right? Look at the profit on this sucker, right? So it's all in duplication in volume. And, you're going to hit your triples. They're going to come along, your home runs. But man, if you can just hit single after single after single and get that $200, $200, because over time, rates might go down. You can refinance. Now, boom, there's more money for you. Rental rates could go up. That's what happened here in Phoenix over the last 4 years. Holy cow, rental rates skyrocketed, right? Because it was kind of undervalued, underappreciated for the past, decade or two, actually. And it finally just caught up to where many major markets across the country have been at for quite some time. It finally made that run with all the inflation and all that fun stuff. And so now as a landlord, it's like, wow, I just, the lease due, for renewal, and I just increased the rent. One of my properties, literally, I'm in a conversation right now, true story. This morning, I had a conversation with a tenant who's looking to renew, and she's like, what's the new rate going to be? And after a little bit of a break, because I didn't want to go full market rent, the increase on the rent from, I think it was 18 months ago, $500 a month. $500 a month. And so now that potentially creates some issues with her because will she be able to stay? Will she not? All that fun stuff, right? But the reality is if she leaves and I go to the open market, I could potentially get $650 more a month, right? And so anyways, that's not common, but it's just that she had a pretty good deal for quite some time. Yeah. So those go up over time.
Don't even forget. I was just gonna say, don't even forget about the fact that this is still like in the long term, this is still a safety net in a way for you. This is still building equity into the home. Homes are still going to appreciate. So it's still even if the cash flow month after month doesn't seem like that much, it's still ownership in a large amount of money that you are paying down, which is going to pay off in years, right? So in a big payoff in years comparatively to your monthly cash flow.
Absolutely. You got multiple different ways to win financially with owning real estate. You have cash flow, you have appreciation, you have depreciation from a tax standpoint, or all the tax write-offs, right? And you have principal buy down. That, by the way, someone else is doing it for you.
Right.
So there's probably a couple more if I just went really deep in the back of my brain here, right? But like the reality is there's 4 right there that are huge, and they're all bonuses to the person who owns the asset. So does it come with some headaches? It can, absolutely, right? And do you have deals with
nothing comes
times
easy.
where nothing comes easy. Anything worthwhile is worth doing, right? Those endeavors, right? But like the reality is, like, you're gonna have to replace a roof every once in a while, and that stinks. Yes. But my favorite quote that I've been saying a lot right here recently is this. I don't know anybody, Elizabeth, if you do too, let me know, but I don't know anyone that said, man, I shouldn't have bought that house 10 years ago.
In this
right?
market, no.
Anyone in the country, right? In any market.
Yeah.
Let's take 2008 in Phoenix, 2009, where the market went crashing down. And there's a good chance if you bought the house in 1999, there's a good chance even after it crashed, you may have still had equity, right?
Oh yeah,
potentially, right? I mean, it crashed hard in Phoenix, so don't get me wrong here.
Yeah.
There was some really bad spots, but the point is, like, and even if you did, as long as you could hopefully with the equity and the payment you had, because you didn't maximize the financing at 100%, you could probably still afford it in 08, 09 when the market was just awful, and you can ride it out, hopefully, right? That's the whole concept, that's the whole concept. So we're going to do a podcast here, just from a real estate professional's point of view, not a professional CPA point of view, excuse me. But we're going to do a podcast just on the tax benefits alone of real estate, because that is near to my heart. That's something I'm really super passionate about.
I think that we've scratched the surface a couple episodes ago, probably before the end of the year, to talking about you should buy a property before the end of the year in order for taxes. So go back and watch that, listen to that. But we'll again, I was scratching the surface. And Kelly, I just had a thought. So as you all know, if you listen to this podcast, I'm going to remind you, please go to buildyourrealestateteam.com so that you can get Kelly's full blueprint of how to get started in that. But since Kelly, I know this is something that is super near and dear to your heart, I think we should also create another landing page with how to invest in real estate with Kelly Cook, and kind of lay out some of your tips, tricks, and blueprint for that too. So stay tuned, guys. That might be coming up soon.
That's a great idea.
So yes, so Build Your Real Estate Team, go there, get the modules, download that. But on the other side, if you're interested in investing too, we'll have something coming up here too, because that is something that Kelly has also dabbled in, and I'm sure, more than dabbled in, and I'm sure has made a few mistakes along the way, has learned some of the best practices. As you can tell, he's pretty knowledgeable on this. So if anybody wants to call you, before that landing page comes out, and get your tips and tricks on investing, on building a real estate team, on real estate in general, what they should be doing for success, or just pick your brain on any of that, Kelly, where can they reach you?
Absolutely. 480-227-2028. Text or call, guys, or info at cookandassociatesaz.com. There
you have it. Well, I will see you next week, Kelly, and we will see all of you next week as well with some more tips and tricks. Maybe next week will be our deep dive into taxes. Either way, it'll be coming up soon, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Elizabeth. Appreciate it, everybody.
Bye, Kelly.
See you guys.
Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.